in this era of disruption, digital is a reality of our life. You got to read more.
The telehealth services, so for the patients to be connected to doctors, or Kementerian Kesihatan, for the doctors to then consult and offer a referral for the patient to perform a test if required.
You know, so if you had that level of trust already with your team members, then it's easier for you to say, okay, now that I can't see you on a daily basis, how do we then operate?
These are the actual challenges of adopting cloud. It's not about the trust anymore. It's about our infrastructure, our connectivity. Are they stable and fast enough to support the the business and also the consumers to continue to adopt more cloud services?
Talented individuals with in-demand skill in any sector now realize that they can live, they choose and work where they qualify. And talent is the new global currency.
Hi, and welcome back to Top in Tech. Today we're talking about fintech and especially about bridging the SME financing gap. As we all know, SMEs account for nearly 90% of companies and more than half the employment worldwide. Despite these, companies struggle to find financing, and it can make all the difference between a small business flourishing and having to shut down completely due to lack of funding and cash flow, despite the ability to meet new demand. Fintech, and on the other hand, has been integrating technology into creating new business opportunities. However, what would be the role of fintech in bringing bridging the SME financing gap? So we have three great speakers, and now I hand over to you to Karamjit, and a big thanks to CapBay for sponsoring this episode. Over to you, Karamjit.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Prem. Yeah, right. I think the World Bank a few years ago actually ranked Malaysia as being the fourth best country in the world in supporting for the traditional financial ecosystem, right? Supporting SMEs. And despite that, you hear a lot of SMEs here crying out, saying they need more help. And even more evident now in the COVID era. And that's why I think the topic today is relevant. We want to look at how an alternative method of funding SMEs, how is that doing, right? So we've got three speakers here. Two are entrepreneurs coming in from the entrepreneur point of view. And of course, Elain Lockman is an entrepreneur, but she's wearing today her hat as an industry leader, right? Because she's the president of the association for real markets, digital markets. So she's going to give a macro view also. And for all of you who have already sent in your questions, thank you so much. We will, as usual, try to answer your questions. Actually, we will answer some of your questions. There are many questions. The panelists have picked the questions they would like to answer. And those who are sending in questions on the spot spontaneously today also, we'll try to answer some of those questions. And with that now, we're going to kick off the show by getting our first speaker, right, Naysan Munusamy, to come on. and Naysan is going to share his perspective. They're all going to give opening 3-minute remarks, right? And so you have an idea of what they're doing also. So let's get Naysan, come on.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Karam.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. All right, let me just share screen. Hi, everyone. My name is Naysan Munusamy. I'm one of the co-founders of MoneyMatch. We are a fintech over here in Malaysia. And very, very similar to my good friends at CapBay, we have a similar journey. We started over here in 2015. And ever since then, in 2017, we got our regulatory approvals and we actually service SMEs in Malaysia who need to make cross-border payments, remittances overseas. We have them do that a lot more faster and cheaper than what the banks and other traditional players can offer here in Malaysia. We've done over 2 billion ringgit worth of flows over the past few years, and even together with partners such as CapBay, we even provide such invoice financing opportunities as well for some of our customers as well. Today, we serve over 3,000 plus SMEs who utilize us for a variety of different payment or remittance requirements overseas. And we are very much local boys over here in Malaysia. We're in Malaysia, Australia, Brunei as well. Just like good friends at CapBay, supported by Cradle and MDV as well. And we're now about over 70 plus full-time staff over here in Malaysia. With that, I'll pass it back on to Karam.
Okay, oh, that's quite significant. Almost 80 headcount now. Okay, man,
Yes.
interesting. And I didn't know you guys were in Australia actually. So you've got a presence there. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Good, man. Got to conquer that market, man. You plant the Malaysian flag there. Excellent.
Thanks, bro.
Okay, now thank you, Naysan. We're going to bring on now Elain and let her share some interesting data points, I hope, from an industry perspective. Let's get Elain Lockman onto the platform, onto the screen to share her thoughts.
Hi, everybody.
Elain, I thought you were shy, suddenly not appearing.
I was waiting for the video to come on. Okay, hi everybody, good afternoon. And thank you again to Kini Events as well as to Digital News Asia for the invitation to this session. So, and today, like Karam mentioned, I'm wearing the hat of President of the Registered Digital Markets Association. And I will be sharing a couple of slides just to perhaps give a little bit of history on how alternative financing began in Malaysia. Okay. Can you see the slides?
Yep.
Alrighty. Okay. All right. So actually, the history started when prior to 2015, to be exact, is around I think in prior to 2014. Actually, the Securities Commission of Malaysia realized that the SMEs in the country were facing a lot of challenges in raising capital, especially when they're approaching or the more traditional conventional financial channels. Yeah. Okay. So, and they were looking at also the developments in the West, and crowdfunding seems to be very popular amongst business owners, small businesses, as an alternative way of fundraising. And they were looking at what would be the best way to regulate this and to start offering this kind of services in the country. So in 2015, the Securities Commission started out by approving 6 equity crowdfunding operators to offer equity crowdfunding services to SMEs. And following which, in the following year, towards the end of 2016, 6 peer-to-peer operators. And for those people who are unfamiliar with P2P, is essentially peer-to-peer lending, yeah, from the crowd, yeah, to the business owners. And in Malaysia, only lending for businesses are regulated and allowed, not to the individuals, yeah. And following on, by 2019, a further 4 operators for equity crowdfunding were approved, and additionally 5 P2P operators were approved. And to date, as you can see, both platforms have supported for equity crowdfunding, close to 200 million capital that's been raised for 159 equity crowdfunding campaigns. And for P2P, this is as at end of 2020, yeah? We don't have the latest figures yet. And for P2P, 15,862 campaigns have raised 1.14 billion worth of funds. Okay, so I will share a little bit more in terms of those details when in the middle of discussion afterwards, Karamjit. But I would like also to share in terms of the evolution of the regulatory framework. Yeah. So when we first
sorry, Elain, before you go there, it just struck me that if you were listening to Naysan talk just now, he said they've already facilitated 2 billion ringgit, right, in loans, and you have a number of 1.4 billion there. So I don't know whether you caught what Naysan was saying. So it's interesting what you thought of what he's saying. So I'm wondering whether some data is not being captured by the association then when you know MoneyMatch is claiming that they've already helped 2 billion, facilitated 2 billion in whether it's just in loans or I think theirs is actually remittance also. Sorry, it's not just loans. Yeah, so
yeah, correct. Okay. So for ours, is the numbers captured here is specific to P2P.
Exactly, and in lending. Yeah, okay, understood.
Correct. So Naysan was talking more on the
overall. He's got all the services under his company. Okay, fine. Sorry, my bad.
No worries. Okay, so with regards to the guidelines, yeah. So what I think for the regulators here, for SC, so I would like to commend SC for being very facilitative and also responsive to our inputs as industry players. So they started out initially with only allowing Sdn Bhd registered businesses in Malaysia.
Okay.
And the maximum amount that a company can raise is 5 million ringgit, and per year only limited to 3 million ringgit per year.
So for the same company, you mean?
Yes, correct, for the same company. All right. Now, subsidiaries of a public listed company is not eligible. All right. And only ordinary share structure at the time were allowed because SC felt that was the easiest or the simplest structure that the general retail public can. Yeah. So that's how it started in 2015. However, over the years, let's look at in 2020, SC made it a bit more liberalized and included limited liability partnership structures to also be eligible to fundraise. And the maximum amount was moved up to 10 million ringgit. And the 3 million ringgit cap per year was removed. Okay, that requirement was removed. Right, and that's abolished. So further on, all right, then COVID happened. Then further on, this year in March, when SC announced, they did an announcement on their briefing on their annual report. They also announced that now unlisted Berhad companies are also allowed to fundraise, okay, on the platform, and they further raised the maximum limit to 20 million. So which means that if you look at from 5 million to 20 million, previously our observation was as an industry, the larger SMEs were not interested on this platform because they felt that 5 million ringgit was too small.
Oh, interesting. Right?
Yeah, so now with 10 million and 20 million, you will find a different, I guess, groups of SMEs, or maybe the bigger SMEs will look into this alternative funding channel to fundraise.
So bigger SMEs for because we throw the word SME out so much. I realized that a lot of people, Elain, don't know when you talk about bigger SMEs, what in terms of revenue, are we talking about companies which are making in excess of 30 million ringgit a year? Those are the larger SMEs, or is there a simple delineation for our listeners to understand that when you say the larger SMEs?
No, there's I wouldn't say there's a clear-cut delineation or I would say features of these SMEs. Actually, anyone and everyone that's in that SME category can apply. It really depends on their fundraising strategy and why they are actually opting for equity or P2P crowdfunding. So both play a different role, I would say, because typically companies will come for equity crowdfunding if they're in growth or expansion stage. and P2P is mainly for short, medium term kind of like
Short, okay.
Yeah.
P2P, more you find it for short term. Okay, it'll be interesting to hear what Ang's experiences afterwards. Okay, carry on.
So anyway, this is just a snapshot again of, but I will give a further breakdown as we move on later, because I don't want to take the time off for Ang's side. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Very interesting. Okay, now as we said, now we're going to get Ang to come on and share some of his thoughts. And the video was really interesting. So many data points that I made a mental note to go and watch the video again and again. So Ang, well done with putting forward the video and with so many data points there. Okay, are you on mute, Mang? Sorry. Okay, still can't hear you yet, bro.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Now. All right. Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So thank you very much. Okay. I guess just now we have done quite some introduction. So maybe just to get everyone to start moving a finger, maybe we would like to run a poll here, right? So of the audience here, if you run a business or if you are in the finance department or you have friends running businesses. So generally, what are the key challenges that your businesses face or your friends face, your company face when getting, currently at this moment?
Okay.
So you start seeing polls coming in.
I was trying to vote myself, Ang. Then I realized hosts and panelists cannot vote.
You cannot.
Otherwise, for everyone else, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you're trying to get a quick snapshot of how people view this right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, right, at this moment, what are the key things?
Yep.
Is it more on the top line? Is it more on the bottom line? And is it more on the revenue? Is it more on the expenses, or really just cash flow?
Yeah.
Right.
I would have taken cash flow management, but yeah, so every company will be different, right? Yeah. Well, interesting to see if one particular category is quite far apart, right, versus the rest, and it'll tell us something interesting there. So at this point in time.
Yeah, I think what we're hearing a lot right now is really the cash flow and also the sales target.
Sales target is perennial, every year like that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, actually, including ourselves, sometimes we underestimated how long this COVID will last.
Absolutely. Okay. I honestly thought by Q4 last year, we would have nailed it already, and we would have been a lot smarter in living with it, if not eliminating it, right? But clearly, I've been so wrong with that, right? Looking at the numbers today. So it's a real disaster there. But but again, and that puts pressure on your cash flow management and getting your business to run even more efficiently, right? And looking for alternate sources of funding. Yeah,
I think indeed. I think that's what everyone should be. I guess that's why we have so many people here today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had almost 300 people, expressing interest to participate in the session also. So yeah, there'll definitely be a lot of interest. Okay, so are you still waiting for the results, or you want to go on to your...
No, I think we can go on.
Yeah. And carry on first, yeah.
Actually, I thought so we won't be able to see the result immediately, right?
I'm not sure with the... okay, here it is.
Oh, yeah, we can see. Okay, so yeah, here we go. So you see that cash flow, I think the two things are still kind of coming up. So surprisingly, it's actually not the sales target that much. It's not so much of the expenses, but really the two items very much related to cash flow and working capital. So I think people are finding it very difficult to manage their cash flow and not having enough working capital to do more businesses. Correct. I think that's kind of consistent with what we are actually seeing here. I think this is also another report that was done by Ernst & Young.
Okay.
Right? So specifically what they realized is that during this COVID period, the impact is such that people find it very difficult. So why the cash flow is so difficult is that they find it very difficult to collect money. There's a delay in receiving money. So generally the liquidity is short, and then they end up delaying payment to the next vendor, to their vendor. So their vendor now is the one who actually have delay in receivables. And then just everything just kind of slow down. When people have less working capital, they do less projected revenue. So I think that's kind of the same thing that we keep on seeing. So I hope that maybe today we will be able to share what CapBay can do, and also just with the rest of the panelists as well. So I think just a summary in general, CapBay, we are a company that connect small businesses to mid-sized businesses. Generally, by size, we mean those with revenue of about 1 million and above, right? To anywhere up to like say 30 million. In accordance to the kind of like in line with the general SME definition for the government. So what we do is we really connect all the businesses to the capital market. So capital market means the investor. Could be a retail investors via our P2P platforms, could be the banks via our multi-bank supply chain finance platform. And also we actually have quite a few institutional investors on our platform looking to fund SMEs. So for the investors, these are the people that previously they could only invest in bonds, but now they can actually invest directly in SMEs. Yeah, I think it's great. And for the SMEs, all this while instead of going to banks only or a money lender, now they have access to the capital market. So that's what really CapBay is all about, connecting the two sides of the equation. In summary, this is what we do to help. If you are a borrower, if you are SMEs, you want to buy something, right? So CapBay help you pay your supplier first before, and then you can pay us later. So if you want to buy something, instead of paying cash up front, we help you pay your supplier first, then you can pay us 90 days later. Or alternatively, if you have client receivables, invoice payment is supposed to pay you in 90 days. We can pay you first and then collect from the customers later. So that solved the two problems that were highlighted by Ed and Yang. And also the problems that I think everyone was kind of during the poll, it was highlighted just now as well. Yeah, so that's really what we do.
That is huge, Ang. I mean, when you say, you offer people 90-day terms, or when somebody is going to be paid only in 90 days and they can come to you and you can pay them upfront first. I mean, like if I wasn't wearing a turban, you see my ears just popping out like that. It's like, wow. I mean, seriously, this is a game changer. And I find not enough people are aware of this incredible new service in the market there. Not enough people. There are some, but more. So yeah, it's a real game changer. And I hope a lot more SMEs will realize that this facility is available out there and they got to just jump and grab it, right? It's available, right? You're there to help bridge this gap, and it's incredible. It wasn't there 4 years ago even. It is there today. Perfect timing, I guess. It has caused an incredible crisis to create this awareness. So I hope at the end of this session, a lot more of those who are listening are aware of this amazing service out there, and you guys go and grab this for yourself, for your companies. Give yourself that lifeline or that extra working capital, right, to grow your business.
Yeah, I thank you very much. Actually, we really think that this will help a lot of SMEs, and we see a lot of demand during this period.
Of course, I'm not surprising.
Yeah, surprising. Actually, initially we thought that market will slow down. Not many people doing businesses, but actually our business has experienced significant growth over the past 12 months. I think some of these numbers were given just now. I think last year we actually also took over, invested into a JV company with Kenanga. So we now are a shareholder of Kenanga Capital Islamic, where we also tap into the Islamic financing market as well, and also having a lot of financing channel to the government vendors. So vendors who supply to government and GLCs, we actually help a lot of them. They don't have to wait for government to pay them in the typical long time, but they get paid from us a lot quicker.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what we do.
Cool. All right, great. All right, good. Thank you, Ang. Now let's get the other two panelists on board. And for all those listening, I always start by asking the same question to all the three panelists, then we'll answer your questions. And obviously, we want to get to the heart of the matter, which is I want to ask them really, do they find that, and Naysan, you go first, is Fintech really bridging the SME financing gap? Or you think that, because when you got technology there's always the hype, right? So how real do you think this ability of Fintech to bridge this SME financing gap? And then I'll ask Elain second, and then Ang, you can answer this third.
All right. Thanks for the come. So putting in one quick sentence is yes, but not at scale. So just exactly as what Xing said, as well as a few of the other P2P players, and even ourselves, we're just doing billions, right? The market technically trade, import, export, that trillions technically, right?
Wow.
These sectors are in hundreds of billions and all that. So I look at the scale of what Maybank does, for example. So I guess that without a doubt, 100% what we're doing, especially what Xing was doing, is without bridging the SME financing gap. But we need a lot more support to really grow it at a scale to be a European-like model whereby we're really, really disrupting the bank's pie when it comes to it can get scaled.
Okay, so you talk about disrupting the bank. So there was a question about that later. I'll come to that. Elain, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more room to play for fintech and SME financing. I mean, if you look at the numbers that I've just shown, let me just share again.
Yep.
I just want to show everybody. Can you see?
Yep.
All right. So if you can see, right? So these numbers are actually, derived from, this is just explanation from the one before, which is from this. So these are a bit more detailed. So the 100 for ECF specifically, so if you look at the largest and the smallest fundraise, and this is only from 150 SMEs.
Okay.
Yeah? And then the next slide is actually for P2P. This is only for less than 3,000 SMEs.
Okay.
And majority of the funding is, a smaller funding below 200,000. Only 7% is bigger than 200,000. And it's also because it depends on the operator.
Okay, correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at how many SMEs we have in the market today, right? I think the numbers as of 2016, we don't have the latest.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, there's less than 1,000 SMEs, right? There's 900 over 1,000.
Yeah, we're less than 1 million. But actually, I'm sure we've crossed 1 million now. But the official numbers from the SME, SME Corp, is about 900 plus 1,000. Yes.
Correct. So, I mean, there's a lot more companies that we can work
of course.
with. Yeah, especially with P2P, because for ECF, right, it is only limited to up to a certain number, but for P2P, we can actually assist further, which is those enterprises, props and so on, right? And if you look at the areas of funding that the alternative financing can support is actually from the seed, startup, early stages, growth, expansion, right up to there. Even exit now, if you talk about the secondary market, we can also facilitate for the SMEs depending on their strategy. So, throughout the life cycle, we can, the alternative funding ecosystem can actually, or players can actually support the SMEs. And it's not, I'm not just talking about ECF or P2P.
Yes.
There's a lot more other fintech companies that is sprouting up every day, coming up with interesting business value proposition then that the SMEs can look into subscribing.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I can see the upside is just huge, and entrepreneurs are sensing opportunity, which is why you're saying fintechs are popping up every day with different models. So good. So Ang, do you want to take? Are you done, Elain? Can I move to Ang now?
Yes. Sure, please.
Okay. Ang, you want to take this question about what do you think? Whether really fintech can really is it really bridging this gap right now?
Yeah, I think relative to kind of similar to what Naysan mentioned. So I think the industry together, probably P2P, non-P2P add together, we're talking about a few billions, which is far less than the hundreds of billions of financing gap that's reported in this region. At the same time, what we are seeing is also actually is more about, so numbers only tell a small story, right? Is where all the money is going to.
Okay.
So I think generally in the rest of the country, what we're seeing is that a lot of all this fintech microfinancing is going to the most bottom level, going for really the gerai people who need 3,000, 5,000. In Malaysia, a lot of the fintech, even including CapBay, actually a lot of our financing are still pretty much focusing on the mainstream. So I would say the small to medium size. What we are really hoping to see also, even CapBay ourselves, is to be able to really go down to the level where we can help the micro financing players, those who would probably really see a huge impact if there's a players other than banks going in.
Okay, cool. Hey, look, I'm getting really stressed out, guys. There's so many questions coming in live, and we've got questions to take from those who already said they will. So I'm going to quickly jump into the questions. And remember, if any of you three see a question that you want to answer, please, if I'm asking you a question, you say, Karam, let me answer that first, then I'll come to this, right? But let me just start with Naysan now, which is, actually, there was a question about one of the earlier questions said, right, from few days ago, why somebody's asking, why is it so difficult to find angel investors? And I see that even in Elain's chat, she had angel investors there also. So Naysan, do you want to take this question?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a matter of trust. I think it's something that Xian and I have definitely gone through a typical startup journey. Raising funds from a pitch deck all the way up to now bigger investment banks and so on and so forth, right? So it's very much an issue of trust. I think that in Silicon Valley or USA or Europe, you have a bit more of a cowboy kind of like a field per se. A lot of guys make good money on tech in the early days, 90s kind of tech and all that, and they are now investing back per se. You look at Apple's story and all that, you find some of the early investors to be like tech guys who make some money on exits and all that. Don't really have that much of that in Malaysia. Well, maybe Grab guys might start investing out, who knows? But there'll be an example of people who made some money from technology, who are then very savvy then in making angel investments in tech. So hopefully that will come in due time. And like examples of Grab, hopefully we get more of that, will then put us in good state.
Yeah, okay, cool. Let's move on to a question for Elain. Elain, somebody, and I know you wanted to answer this question, which is somebody's asking about the licensing required and how do the user, that means the SME, I guess, ensure legality. So there's still some maybe doubt about whether these platforms are legit or well regulated. And then what is the processing like for these applications also? If you want to take that.
Yeah, I think for companies who are looking at these or considering alternative funding platforms like ECF and P2P, first and foremost, just to make sure that these companies are regulated under the SC. Okay, you can check the listing. It's all available. All the names of the 10 ECF platforms and 11 P2P platforms are all listed out on the Securities Commission website. That's number one. Number two, okay, in terms of the requirements, you may want to take on the P2P side, but let me cover the ECF portion. Yeah, so specific to ECF, you just need to make sure that number one, you are a registered entity with SSM. That's number one in Malaysia. You must be a Malaysian company because we are governed by a Malaysian jurisdiction. That's one. Secondly, you must make sure that your audited report is in order, as well as your management accounts. Yeah, so your accounts must be in order. Thirdly, your business plan. You need to make sure you have your business plan ready, at least a 3-year business plan, and corresponding to that, your financial projections as well.
3 years, okay.
Minimum 3 years, okay? And if you have licensing or IP registered or so on and so forth, so make sure that you have all that proof of documentation in place. Typically, most platforms will require mainly online submissions. Generally, there will be charges in terms of processing as well as success fee at the end of the campaign. Yeah, so this is majority is upon success. Various platforms will have various charges. It depends on the platform. So do speak to the platforms, and to find out a bit more about the processing and the time frame and how it works.
Okay.
Xian, you may want to talk about the P2P process.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ang. You can answer this P2P portion then.
Okay, yeah, I think for P2P one, it's a lot lighter, almost pretty much so long as you are not a subsidiary of a listed company or the listed company itself. Okay. You are eligible, but of course that makes it so wide, right? So I would say that typically Securities Commissions expect us to assess the repayment capability. So we need to, the platform, CapBay, need to make sure that, you as applicants have the capability to repay. And then every platform has their own requirements. So for ours, we prefer that you are already currently doing a business with another large corporate, which kind of tell us that, you have been selected, you have been filtered. And then I know that you will have some repayment coming in from that sources. So there are different tricks, right? So that's one of the tricks that we like to use. And so far that has proven very well for us. Okay. I mean, our MPL is still the lowest in the industry as well.
Wow, really? Huh? Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me just go on to a question now, a full question for you, Ang, since we have you on screen, which is somebody was asking, and I think you wanted to answer this, are banks considered competitors, or are they, or you substitute to alternative funding platforms like, crowdfunding and other fintechs, and why?
We never see the banks as our competitor. In fact, there are so many situations we work with the banks.
Oh,
in fact, half of our business are with banks, right? We
half
run a
your
multi-bank
business.
platform.
Wow.
Yeah. We run a multi-bank supply chain finance platform. The banks are our clients sometimes, and then we actually cross-share leads with each other. Because what the banks really have is that they are able to give you the financing at a very low cost. 3%, 4% per annum during this low interest environment. However, sometimes the process takes a bit longer and it's a lot harder to qualify. And then, so in what really CapBay come in is where, this is actually to complement you. So if you need more than what the bank is giving you, or sometimes you need your money slightly faster, or you're too early, too young as a company to qualify, then, CapBay as a company works better. As like mentioned just now, you see the criteria like I mentioned, it's not even about, whether you got collateral or not.
Profit.
We look at, it's not even about, in fact, it's not even about whether you have profit or not, right? Because SMEs, very hard to know whether they have profit or not. A lot of people don't do their accounts properly. That's one of the challenges. So we really look at the crux of matters, right? Have you demonstrated your capability to survive in the market, and then your real capability in securing the good contracts, things like that.
Understood.
Very different style.
Sure, understood. Okay, let's just go on to a question now. I'm going to go back to Elaine now, but remember, if you see questions from the audience that you want to answer, please go ahead and pick those questions, right?
Yeah, can I just pick a question, Karam?
Can. Go ahead.
So there's a question from Chuan Lim, and what does the applicant need to give away for ECF funding? Is there a need to give up shareholding?
Okay, good question.
Yeah, so I think there's just a follow through on what Ang was saying, right? Okay, so specific to equity crowdfunding, obviously, it is equity crowdfunding. So in exchange for the funds, so a company is expected to give away their equity, right? But however, I think if you look at the SC now, they are allowing over and above ordinary share structure. A company can look into offering pref share terms now. So, so depending on the terms as well, right? So that's number one. Number two, obviously when you look at equity, so the company, your company or the issuer needs to actually look at the valuation vis-a-vis also the fundraising needs, and a lot of people tend to also ask me in the past, okay, how much equity do you see? So in my experience, also generally, I think across the board, typically we'll see anywhere between 10 to 30% that a company tend to impart with, when they, adopt or they embark on an equity crowdfunding strategy for fundraising for their platform, or for their businesses. Okay,
that's not too bad. 10-20%. Okay, all right, understood. Good. So okay, and Naysan, I'm going to ask Elaine another question first, and then if you want to jump in with anything, right, go ahead. Which is and Elaine, this was actually around a cryptocurrency, right? Is acting as an alternative and innovative financing. And of course, I'm only asking this question now because the value of all the especially Bitcoin, right, as just like dropping faster than you can spell, cryptocurrency backwards. So, but what do you think of this? Is it a viable alternative, or is it innovative financing for? I guess because our topic is on SMEs, do you see SMEs going this way, or no? It's too complicated yet for them.
Okay, I think this is interesting because I think a lot more people are getting into the crypto game, and also they are trying to understand how it works, whether this is something that they consider. So honestly speaking, I think specific to SC has been very open to specific to equity crowdfunding. There have been engagements, I think with a few of the platforms with the SC. And as far as we know, SC has in principle said that, the tokenization, it can be taken as an investing mechanism, and not as a legal tender. So you take it as investment. However, I think in Malaysia currently, the challenge is we do not have at the moment a digital trustee player.
Oh, okay.
Currently we have the traditional trustees to hold the funds, right? Prior to the campaign closing. But with cryptocurrency, right, or cryptos, we still need a trustee, an intermediary to play that role. So at the moment, we do not have a licensed digital trustee as we speak.
Okay.
So I think once that's available, so then as an issuer, they can actually opt for this mechanism if that platform allows it or can facilitate crypto investments into the crowdfunding campaign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ang, I just want to quickly ask you, because you've also partnered with corporates, is this a space you're planning to go into, or the current market is so big that you don't need to get distracted by, hey, cryptocurrency is sexy, let's do something there?
Yeah, I think pretty much what you're saying is right. It's sexy, it's so sexy that, a lot of, I think even without us planning for it, the entire team, my team every now and then will come up with an idea for it, right?
Yes,
and then every now and then I got to put them, to go back to focus on solving the SME challenges at this moment. But I give them the flexibility to do that. So I think you won't be surprised to see, crypto or blockchain projects coming out from CapBay. But at this moment, I think the focus is really trying to be on the SMEs needs for this year.
Sure. That's smart, right? There's such a big market. I think, Naysan, you mentioned that you've got about 3,000 SME customers, and I'm thinking that you should easily be able to double or even triple that this year. Do you think that's possible? And is the market demand and market awareness there increasing? Because 3,000 to me is a good base, because they all talk to their friends and their peers, right? They say, I had a good experience with this platform. It's like, hey, what's that about? So I would think that's a good enough base for you to build on and double or triple your growth. So
let me ask you back. Did my investor give you some money to ask me that on live? But yes, I mean that we did take a big hit. Obviously, COVID did hit certain sectors, travel and tour segments, certain sectors did hit us hard. But generally, there is a lot of growth. There are certain regulatory requirements in terms of how we do compliance, onboarding, physical onboarding requirements to ensure there's no shell companies and no money laundering activities that goes.
Okay.
So yes and no, it's not so easy to scale that fast overnight. But without doubt, there is very, very much solid demand right now. And because a lot of these guys who we serve are very much banked, but not really being served particularly greatly by the bank, right? And for example, for various reasons, they aren't really getting either a very good financing pricing or not getting any financing at all, or not getting any very good FX pricing or whatnot per se. So this real fat layer over there, is a lot of them are digital guys. A lot of them are online guys as well. The banks don't particularly serve them. There's a nice gap there that guys like Xing, Xian, and us can tackle.
Okay. So Ang, there were some questions. Actually, I think somebody's asking about construction industry, even maritime shipping. But I don't think you are limiting yourself by verticals as to which SMEs you help, right? Can you take that question? I think two different people asked you, and I'm quite struck by that. So
I think in summary, yes, we don't really have any restricted sector. We try to open to as many as possible. However, the two industry that was actually highlighted are the industry that we like. I think logistic and construction industries are the one that we do the most, because these are the ones where we find the most underserved by the banks. Partly because construction, your cash flow is very, very chunky. You could be a very small industry on a normal day, small business on a normal day. All of a sudden, you get a big project and you just need money to do it. So we support businesses on that. And then for shipbuilding as well. So we actually currently do a lot of maintenance, finance a lot of clients who are doing shipbuilding and ship maintenance, shipyard, all that. Yeah. So these are actually interestingly, I guess they ask because they see the challenges, and I just want to highlight that those are the industry we like.
That you like, lah. Okay. So Elain, from an industry point of view, are there any verticals that you find are lacking, are falling behind, and not aware of the value that these fintechs can provide to them? Or you think that the industry associations are doing a good job? Because I saw one question earlier about something about industry associations also. So at least all the associations aware of the presence of this, very viable, and I don't even want to call it alternative anymore, right? I think very soon you guys are going to be part of the mainstream also.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think there's still a lot of people who are still ignorant about this financing offerings, right? Although as an association, also individually, we do work with not just our regulator, but also with quite a lot of government agencies and also other associations to continuously educate the public about this. And it's not just from the business owners, but also for the retail investors especially. Yeah, because if you look at, the government has done a good job, I think, in terms of supporting the industry with the Malaysia Co-Investment Fund.
Yes.
And if you look at last year's budget, and they have announced the 50% tax rebate for investors who invest into this type of investment instrument, up to 50,000 ringgit. Yeah, but I mean, we have yet to hear the details, but this is one of the strategies for the government to drive more interest from retail investors to invest in this space. So it's not just about business owners looking at this alternative funding structure, but also for the average Joe on the street to see, hey, there is another investment asset class that I can tap on for short, medium, and longer term returns. Yeah, and this is something that I think retail investors should really consider, because previously they would have gotten the opportunity to invest in a startup company, for example. Yeah, and which can give them multiple enormous returns, in medium to the long term, depending on their risk appetite as well. But it's also, I think, about educating not only the business community in terms of what is required, and especially our observation is that once you get the funding, they need to be diligent in terms of reporting, to their investors. That is paramount. That's one. And secondly, also, we need to continuously educate the investor side, because they need to understand what they're getting themselves into. ECF, I think P2P is a bit more straightforward, because they know exactly the kind of returns and when they're getting the returns. But for equity crowdfunding, they need to educate themselves a bit more, because this is a bit more different. I just want to touch on another question that came on just now. Somebody was asking, whether these investors would want board representation. So the thing is, what you need to understand is that this is the beauty of equity crowdfunding. The investment can be very, very small or very, very big. So just to let the audience know, the smallest investment that we have accepted in Malaysia for equity crowdfunding is 10 ringgit. So that shows how inclusive it is. So on the contrary to the belief of a lot of people, you don't need big amounts of funds to participate in equity or P2P crowdfunding. So that's one. Number two is, of course, board representation would depend on the individual, how much the individual put in. So if the person puts in 100 ringgit or 3,000 ringgit, no, there's no board representation. So that is also a reason why some companies opt for this type of fundraising structure, because there's no one major investor in that sense, right? So you kind of like democratize it.
Which is a key facet of why we wanted to promote this. So Ang, there was already a question you answered, but I want Naysan to answer, because you are talking about how you assess, the credit worthiness of the SMEs that you want to lend to. And you said every company will have a bit of a different nuance about how they do it. Naysan, can we hear from you how MoneyMatch assesses the SMEs that you are partnering with and you are supporting?
Sure. So we were certain licensed partners as well, such as CapBay, even certain banks and whatnot. Purely because we are very focused on like trade imports and exports.
Trading,
So wealth of actually trade invoices. I think there's something like 40,000 invoices over the past 3.5 years of dealing with all that structure in our database. So that actually enables us to look at things very much on the ability of companies to how they cycle through invoices, how frequently they will pay over a 1, 2, 3 year period with us and whatnot. So we use that kind of like a little bit more alternative, because you can directly hook up your CTOS and get the relevant, typical credit bureau stuff. but there's a lot more other stories to the company as well, right? Sometimes, as Xing said very well, the bank's minimum requirement that your accounts need to be up to standard. You need 3 years audited statements, so on and so forth. Right? Oh, so a profit or so on and so forth. Some of these e-commerce companies started 2 years back, first year, so then you don't qualify, right? But that's how e-commerce companies are.
Correct. The nature of the game is different,
Precisely. Yeah. So there's ability to look at other things. So I'm just one example of a participant. So I am very much focused on like trade invoices, and bigger guys like Xian, he's able to look at a variety of other alternative data to help you overlay the decision making.
Yeah. So I think Ang, you had because you talk about Islamic, you've taken equity in the Islamic financial company. So how is that broadening the services that you are able to offer SMEs? And then there's actually a quick feedback only from Dr. Oliver Ho, who thinks that there are actually about 4 million, unless he typed it wrongly, 4 million SMEs in the country. So, Dr. Ho, I'm quite sure you are wrong, so maybe you meant to put 400,000, so which is quite a dramatically low number also, but just commenting on that. So, Ang, what is this broadening of the services you're offering? Can you enlighten us quickly?
Okay. I think in the gist of it is kind of quite similar. So in the sense that we help people pay first, or we pay them first. So just helping with the cash flow. I think it's just that we know that there is a segment in the market that are really very prefers to have a Sharia compliant financing.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we do. And the other thing is actually not so much about the product itself, but it's about the overall offering, right? Because I think all this while the product that we do were not so much tailored to the different markets. So now actually by investing in this team, we also actually what we really acquire is not just a product, but it's actually a wealth of knowledge and a team who are able to serve the Sharia compliance financing market better as well.
So so it feels like you can probably cover 100% of the SME market now, right? With this, so all verticals,
Yeah, pretty much all verticals. I mean, maybe certain industry, maybe we don't. We know that we see that we probably have a bit less involvement in, for example, retail industry, because I think we are seeing that the rest of the fintech. So it's not really just about CapBay trying to serve the SME financing needs, but you have like people like Grab and Boost who are actually trying to provide a lot more financing to the SMEs, especially to the retailers where they actually have control over the cash flow, the payment, because you collect money via Grab and Boost, right? So these are so they are actually very much serving that particular industry. Whereas I think CapBay, we see our strength is really in serving the supply chain. So that's why our financing is always called supply chain finance, providing services to the B2B company, like for example, construction and shipbuilding. Actually, just now, Naysan also mentioned, for banks, sometimes very difficult to get to provide financing to a younger company. But there are situations, I think right now, even CapBay and MoneyMatch, we come together where if any SMEs want to pay to their overseas supplier, CapBay can actually work with them to provide the financing so that they actually, financing can be used to pay to the overseas supplier first via MoneyMatch. Then only later on they repay CapBay. So this actually help e-commerce company to procure services, products from overseas better.
Nice, interesting. It's good to see the industry players also collaborating. That you compete at one level, but you also collaborate, and that's really the way to go. Hey, there was a quick question from I think Ali Zare, and which is a good question. Which is typically, how long does it take to go through the process for them to get the money from you, Ang, and from you, Naysan?
Oh, okay. I'll take this question first.
Yeah, okay. And then Naysan can go second.
Yeah. So I think ours it really depends. So I hate to use this word. It really depends, because there are days where it takes 24 hours, and there are situations where it takes up to 1-2 months. So
1-2 months.
Yeah. I mean, but where is 1-2 months, it really is I would say complicated situation, and the same situation probably would have taken the typical channels maybe like 3-6 months, right?
Oh, okay, good. Thanks for that perspective. Oh, okay. So if they've gone through the banking channel, you mean it would have taken them 3 to 6 months? So your 1 to 2 months is actually still at least 50% faster at the least, right? Okay.
Yeah. I would say that I would say that the easiest way to say that is that, it will be at least less than half of the time taken by any financial institutions, at least, but generally a lot faster.
Okay, Naysan, how long does it take you?
As well, I think that for us in payments industry as well, it's just about we will do it a lot more faster than traditional channels, but nonetheless there are a lot of complications and whatnot. And this sometimes takes up weeks and whatnot. So it really depends whether the turnaround is faster or not. It's not so simplistic as we guarantee 1 hour turnaround.
Okay. But I use MoneyMatch services sometimes, personally. So I can vouch that one is really good.
Okay. I didn't know you were going to say that. I didn't know you're a customer also. But just a quick one, Naysan, because Ang already expressed two of the verticals that they focus on. They find, maritime and shipping and construction. Because there is a question about what industry some of the companies belong to. So for your business, out of your 3,000 plus SMEs, do you find the majority, which is the biggest vertical that the clientele comes from? Is there a particular vertical?
Since COVID, it's all messed up everything, right? So it's all over the place right now, because from an e-commerce perspective, there's anywhere from baby goods to F&B. F&B is the major sector for us, but that's also primarily driven from COVID, because that removes all the entire front end, retail as well. All customers have mine, like T-Life, for example, obviously is no longer the business that he once was. Everything has changed dramatically. So F&B is, without a doubt, for us, but that's also because of COVID impact and all that. So the F&B guys have remained strong and growing. Essential goods, baby services, all those kind of things do very, very good at this time.
Okay, interesting. Look, we're almost at our hour mark, and I'm now going to just end. Unless there's a question, each of you all see that you're going to answer. If not, means I'm going to ask each of you for, what is the key takeaway that you would like the audience to take with them from our discussion today. And I will start with Naysan first.
Sure. Just a quick wrap up, I guess. Well, I mean, aside from the obvious, keep your documentations up to date so that it's easier to get financing, and it takes away 1-2 days. I think really that I think a lot of people have a lot of fear about trying out fintech services, whether it's CapBay, MoneyMatch, or so on and so forth, or other plus or whatnot. That's also because of the lack of familiarity. But I think right now with COVID, what more? Now is a really time to give it a try out. As Elain said earlier, always look up for guys who are regulated. All three of us here are regulated by relevant regulators such as Securities Commission and Bank Negara Malaysia. So it's very straightforward. If you're properly regulated, do give a try out to online digital services, which the three of us all offer. And a lot of times, you actually will be able to find a lot more optimized solutions to do things a lot more cheaper and faster turnaround times than ever before, right? So keep an eye out for regulated services and give a bit of trust for online services provided by regulated licensees.
And I think the key is that all of you do it cheaper, faster, and you help a market niche also that may be underfunded, right? So of course they need the funding, and the banking system is just not geared to react the way the ecosystem demands today. And not even talking about e-commerce. So okay. Elain, do you want to what is your key takeaway you would like the audience to take away with?
Yeah, I think I just want to add on to what Naysan is saying. Again, do not be afraid to try out this alternative funding channels because the turnaround time is indeed faster. Yeah, more swift. But having said that, I think by actually opting for these funding channels, you become better businesses because you will make sure your books are in order, you are doing your regular reporting, and I think for all of these companies, they will move on to be better companies. And typically, and for investors as well, those who are looking into alternative funding as a channel to grow their wealth. Yeah, so I would say safely to say that majority of these businesses that's gone through the filtration of these platforms tend to be better companies. Yeah, so safely to say, I think is well regulated and well looked after by the SC as well. Okay.
So when you say the platform, so you're saying that because you're talking about ECF, right? The platforms will also do the due diligence. So if a company is approved for one of your platforms, potential investors can rest easy that these companies have been vetted and they are safe for them to invest in. That's really what Elain is saying.
That's one. But Karam, I would also want to say this, but at the end of the day, the investor must also do their own due diligence investing. Same with P2P as well, because they need to see whether, okay, would I want to invest? Why do I want to invest? We look into a specific area, right? For example, those are regular, the SC is saying, okay, this is the minimum you've got to submit. And we make sure that whatever they say is legit and correct. But at the end of the day, the investors have the final say whether they want to invest or not, because it's their money, yeah?
Correct. Nobody's forcing them. Yeah, correct. Okay, interesting. All right, Ang, what would be a key takeaway you would like the audience to leave with?
I would like to say just visit CapBay.com. But anyway, that's advertisement. But anyway, okay. So I think something similar to what both Elain and Naysan have mentioned. I think really should try it out. I mean, it sounds something new, but honestly, maybe to share a bit, right? Of all these companies, few hundred companies that I've served, I probably have seen one guy after doing so many business with them, decided not to do businesses. And one thing we realized is that every one of our clients, with the financing support, they have grown, right? So it's actually very exciting. We're able to help hundreds or even thousands of SMEs growing. We don't see people closing down. So,
nice.
I mean, you can put in a lot of statistics, you put in a lot of pros and cons, but the point is just that, just looking at the customer base, everyone grow, right? So it's just a very strong point for everyone to say that you're going to try out, right? The financing may not be something that you are used to, but you're going to try out, right? And then actually, even though if you're not running business, for those of you who are trying to get involved in the fintech industry and also the SMEs, other than just thinking about borrowing, I think there's ECF, there's P2P, right? You can go to equity crowdfunding platform to invest in the shares in the private companies, or you can actually come to P2P platforms like CapBay, register as investors, where you get to provide financing directly to the SMEs, and the yield are actually higher than the typical market. I think right now you are looking at we are looking at anywhere between 8 to 11%. That's the kind of average return the investor get. And our P2P platforms have got no default yet, right? I mean, we have done hundreds of millions already. So
no default. Wow, that's incredible. Okay.
Yeah. So I think this is where I think really is opportunities for everyone to try out. Everyone at home, I think you got to find something. If you've got to do something digital, right? Don't just stick to Netflix. There is all these digital platforms to try out.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you. And don't forget Disney Plus now. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we're good. Thank you to all the three panelists. Very interesting discussion, and it is definitely worth considering, both as an investor, for you to lend money to SMEs through platforms like CapBay, or as Elaine saying, through ECF also, right? So there's a lot of avenues for us to try to grow our funding, to grow our wealth also in our funds. And on the other side, there's a lot more money for people to be able to access also, right? Through platforms like Naysan's one and like Ang's one also, okay? CapBay and MoneyMatch. With that, now let's get Prem on for closing remarks for him. And by the way, I think somebody early on was asking whether the slides would be shared with them, and I think we always do share slides, right, with the audience. So I'll leave it to the respective speakers to either put a link there or whatever, so that you can get access to the slides. Okay, Prem, you can final thoughts from you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really enjoyed the session. Thanks to our speakers, Ang, Elain, and Naysan. It's very interesting, especially coming from an SME perspective. I think we've always been relying on the banks, but now with the growth with all of these fintechs, I wonder how banks are going to survive.
Yeah.
So much more money flows and demand are going to new approaches. And when Ang was talking about return on investment of 8 to 11%, thinking, why am I wasting my money with FD? I should put it in the P2P financing, a lot more lucrative.
There you go.
So it was really interesting discussion. Thanks so much for having us, for joining us on Top in Tech. Big thanks to the audience for participating in all the interesting questions. Obviously, it's a very hot topic. Maybe we can consider doing another show on fintech, because so much of participation and so much.
You were saying that, in my mind, I was thinking it'll be interesting to even have them back 6 months from now to get an update, and I'm sure there'll be interesting stories for them to tell us. So this is a topic that deserves another session in Top in Tech for sure.
Definitely. And again, a big thanks to our sponsors, CapBay. Well done, guys. Thank you, all of y'all.
Yep.
And see you in the next episode of Top in Tech.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. In this era of disruption, digital is a reality of our life. You got to read more.
The telehealth services, so for the patients to be connected to doctors, Kawan Kementerian Kesihatan, for the doctors to then consult and offer a referral for the patient to perform a test if required.
So if you had that level of trust already with your team members, then it's easier for you to say, okay, now that I can't see you on a daily basis, how do we then operate?
These are the actual challenges of adopting cloud. It's not about the trust anymore. It's about our infrastructure, our connectivity. Are they stable and fast enough to support the business and also the consumers to continue to adopt more cloud services?
Talented individuals with in-demand skill in any sector now realize that they can live, they choose and work where they qualify